Harper Perennial and Harper Audio present A Short History of Reconstruction, Updated Edition, by Eric Foner, read by Paul Heitsch.
For Daria. Preface. Revising interpretations of the past is intrinsic to the study of history. But no period of the American experience has, in the last 25 years, seen a broadly accepted point of view so completely overturned as Reconstruction, the dramatic, controversial era that followed the Civil War. Since the early 1960s, a profound alteration of the place of blacks within American society, newly uncovered evidence, and changing definitions of history itself have combined to transform our understanding of Reconstruction. The scholarly study of Reconstruction began early in this century with the work of William A. Dunning, John W. Burgess, and their students. The interpretation elaborated by the Dunning School may be briefly summarized as follows. When the Civil War ended, the white South accepted the reality of military defeat, stood ready to do justice to the emancipated slaves, and desired, above all, a quick reintegration into the fabric of national life. Before his death, Abraham Lincoln had embarked on a course of sectional reconciliation, and during presidential Reconstruction, 1865–67, his successor, Andrew Johnson, attempted to carry out Lincoln's magnanimous policies. Johnson's efforts were opposed and eventually thwarted by the radical Republicans in Congress. Motivated by an irrational hatred of Southern rebels and the desire to consolidate their party's national ascendancy, the Radicals, in 1867, swept aside the Southern governments Johnson had established and fastened black suffrage on the defeated South. There followed the sordid period of congressional or radical Reconstruction, 1867–77, an era of corruption presided over by unscrupulous carpetbaggers from the North, unprincipled white scalawags, and ignorant blacks unprepared for freedom and incapable of properly exercising the political rights Northerners had thrust upon them. After much needless suffering, the South's white community banded together to overthrow these governments and restore home rule, a euphemism for white supremacy. All told, Reconstruction was the darkest page in the saga of American history. During the 1920s and 1930s, new studies of Johnson's career and new investigations of the economic wellsprings of Republican policy reinforced the prevailing disdain for Reconstruction. Johnson's biographers portrayed him as a courageous defender of constitutional liberty, whose actions stood above reproach. Simultaneously, historians of the progressive school, who viewed political ideologies as little more than masks for crass economic ends, further undermined the radicals' reputation by portraying them as agents of Northern capitalism, who cynically used the issue of black rights to foster Northern economic domination of the South. From the first appearance of the Dunning School, dissenting voices had been raised, initially by a handful of survivors of the Reconstruction era and the small fraternity of black historians. In 1935, the black activist and scholar W.E.B. Du Bois published Black Reconstruction in America, a monumental study that portrayed Reconstruction as an idealistic effort to construct a democratic, interracial political order from the ashes of slavery, as well as a phase in a prolonged struggle between capital and labor for control of the South's economic resources. His book closed with an indictment of a profession whose writings had ignored the testimony of the principal actor in the drama of Reconstruction, the emancipated slave, and sacrificed scholarly objectivity on the altar of racial bias. One fact, and one alone, Du Bois wrote, explains the attitude of most recent writers toward Reconstruction.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?